the first caricature that he did was of his father.
Wow.
And chalk piece on the floor, he sketched his father when his father was reading a newspaper.
So taking back to those times when R.K. Lakshman ji was initiating his career, how was he as a man?
He wants to become a cartoonist. I am sure it must have been within him that he has to do something for the society, particularly for the common man of our country.
A cartoonist that was not only related to art,
Yes.
but talking about the current affairs, talking about what's happening in politics, talking about it without a fear of being judged, without the fear of, favoring anyone, or without the fear of anything.
Dad always used to say, I am not here to change the world. I am only here to bring forth what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
And how best you can help the people of the country, and how important it is for the political leaders to see that. I'm only bringing it forward to them, making them realize, look, this is what is happening. Please see what you can do, what best you can do.
You don't usually see an artist having a depth of multiple subjects at a time, and to be so confident about portraying it. May it be the emergency, may it be the rising prices, may it be what's happening in the world or across. So that was fascinating to kind of go through it. Today is a very special day for not just me, but the young generation or my team to be sitting in this amazing room that is right placed in the R.K. Lakshman Museum. I mean, it just got back so many memories of the way we had heard about the incredible work that he had done. And I was also talking to my parents yesterday, and they were talking and cherishing about how amazing those times were where they used to be excited about opening the newspaper and just going and checking the common man article or what he is thinking about. So it's an absolute honor to be able to try to put up his entire life's work in this podcast. Honestly, it's not possible for us to cover the incredible achievements that he has had. We are very small for the kind of work he's done, but we are filled with gratitude today that we can be a part of, the tiny part of trying to encapsulate his entire journey. And to do that, I have with me Usha ji. She is somebody who is seen everything through her lens. She's witnessed it, she's experienced it, she knows and she's absorbed the kind of work the man has done. And like I was talking to her before we started the podcast, she was so passionate, and she spoke about the memories that not everyone get to hear. And in this podcast, we want to exactly capture that, the experiences that she has seen through her lens, and the incredible work she has put into making his work through the museum that you can see and witness in Pune. Like, honestly, you should come down here and have a look at the scale of this museum and how thoughtfully it has been made by Rohan and by Usha ji. Like, it's incredible to see the work that they've done. It's an honor to sit across you today. And I told you about that, how excited we are to talk about his journey. And we were just talking about it before the podcast started. So any thoughts you'd like to share today before we start the podcast?
Thank you so much for having me here, because any kind of podcast or discussion that is about dad is definitely an overwhelming feeling for me. There's an emotional connect that happens. And I like the way you started saying how it's going to be helping the younger generation. And that is really good, because firstly, dad was very fond of children. And even if he was alive, he would be so happy to see that this museum is catering to the younger generation as well. And we are actually doing that with the government school students, where we've created an art education program based on his artworks, and which is helping immensely. And we've been doing this for the last 3 years. And indeed, you would have been very happy. And also, the last 17 to 20 years of the generation do not even know of him. or his work. So this museum is giving an opportunity to that generation as well. So I'm glad you picked on that topic, which is really very close to our heart. And I also come from a background as a teacher, where I started off my career as a Montessori teacher. So I know what it means to give this back to that area of society. The government school children, the less privileged children who do not get an opportunity. And I'm very happy this museum is helping me to do that as well.
Yeah.
So that's the best way I would like to start.
And you've been like a TEDx speaker. You've been actively involved in making sure that this essence that we see in this room or in this museum is still alive in this world. So taking back to those times when R.K. Lakshmanji was initiating his career, how was he as a man? Like I asked you when I walked in that, what was your experience around him?
Firstly, he's a very emotional person. So that by itself, I think, explains everything, because through emotions, you become very caring, very concerned, and take you as part of his life. That becomes his primary importance, and you can see that in his cartoons as well. What people mean to him, what common man means to him, he was the same even at home. Very, very emotional, very concerned all the time of things happen, things should go well, there shouldn't be any problems for the day to start or the day to end, not only with the family but also with the people around him.
Correct.
So that's the kind of person he was. And I was very, very attached to him. I mean, even today, when I come to this museum, I feel his presence. That was my attachment I had with it. And all the more reason, when I put his work together for the museum, it was an emotional connect again. So I gave my heart to it, and I'll continue doing that.
What was it like, like every day sitting in the house, discussing about the global affairs or what was happening in India? And you also told about, it must be rooted in his childhood. So what was it like?
At home, he used to keep us in stitches. There was never used to be a dull moment.
Yeah.
Everything that he looked at used to amuse him, and that's the way he used to portray it also. He used to keep us in stitches. While he was an emotional person, he was an extremely humorous person, and people used to love his company and be around him, because there was spontaneous wit that used to come from him. And I did speak about what common man meant to him. You can very clearly see that in his cartoons, number one. And my analysis of him, about his common man, the iconic character that he's created, 100% it must have been within him right from his childhood, right from his formative years, that this is what is happening around you in the world. And, that concern for the person around and the feeling that he had must have grown within him. And he always had this feeling from the day he came to know that he is an artist, and that he wants to become an artist. And then from the day he felt that he wants to become a cartoonist, I am sure it must have been within him that he has to do something for the society, particularly for the common man of our country. And it's not very easy for one to portray the cartoon through the common man. He speaks everything that you see in his cartoons is through the common man and for the common man and for the people of the country. So it must have been within him right through his life, right from the day he was.
Yeah, when he began, like honestly, in those times, it was considered that you must take a very safe, risk-free career path. So I wonder that how did he choose to become a cartoonist, and a cartoonist that was not only related to art, but talking about the current affairs, talking about what's happening in politics, talking about it without a fear of being judged, without the fear of, favoring anyone, or without the fear of anything. So that needs guts, that needs that creativity, that needs their mind, which is very present in the moment. How was it to, sort of from art to become the man he was, like what were his days, I think in Free Press Journal, he started his journey there. So what was it like for him to even think about talking about these current affairs?
So there are a couple of things. Firstly, it was very organic for him right from his childhood. Firstly, he hated going to school.
Yeah.
Never wanted to go to school. And it was his uncle who was responsible to see that he goes to school. Even there, and all that he did before that was go to the marketplace and see whatever cave was in front of him to sketch without even knowing that he's an, there's an art within him, that
Yeah.
he's got that talent. And so it all started with that. Then he kind of reconciled, yes, school is not a bad place because I can sketch my peer group, I can sketch my teachers. So he looked at academics also through his art. And that's how it all started, very organic. And there came a day when in a drawing class, the drawing teacher wanted all the students to draw a leaf. And he drew this people leaf, which he did not even realize he's going to be applauded for that.
Yeah.
And in fact, when the teacher called him to come forward, he was in fear. Why is he going to twist my ears? Have I done something wrong? He turned around the other way and he kind of patted on his back and said, "You're a great artist. You're going to become a great artist one day." That kind of, hit this thing in him, chord in him, that maybe I am an artist. And he started working towards it. Again, in a very organic way, because every art and every object that he saw around him, was draftsmanship for him.
Yeah.
So he kind of, cultivated that within him. And then, of course, schooling happened. He did not want to go to college. He said, I want to go to an art college. So he applied to JJ School of Arts, and they did not find him qualified enough to become a student of JJ School. And it was his mother who encouraged him and said, "You're already an artist. You don't need to go to a college. But it's very important. You need to become at least a graduate. So go to college." So that's how he did that and graduated himself, which kind of helped him as well. And then his journey started off looking for a career to be a cartoonist in a newspaper. That was it. He was very, very clear about it.
Okay.
So he went from one newspaper to the other, literally from down south to up north, and finally landed in Mumbai and started his journey with Free Press.
Yes.
And never liked it there because your answer to your statement that, he was not biased, and he, looked at every party the same way.
Yes.
And he was very objective about it. But Free Press, I think, wanted him to support the ruling party, which he could not digest that. And, he decided to quit and walked into Times of India. So that's how it all started. Even there, in Times of India, he only joined as an artist in the art department. But he found his way around very cleverly because he had that passion within him. And when he joined, it was India had already got the independence. There was so much happening in the country. He could not hold his, fingers to not sketch. So he went and told the editor, "Let me sketch something every day, politically what's happening. Please, I'm not forcing you to print it. At least keep it as a collection because I feel good. Otherwise, my mind will get warped." So he started doing that. And one fine day, the editor realized, "Oh, this is brilliant cartoon. Let's put it in the evening paper." And in those days in newspapers, there used to be letters to the editor. So people, all readers used to send.
Correct.
And letters to the editor, letters started pouring. That is when Times of India realized, okay, we need to carry it in the daily paper.
Yeah.
So even there, he was very innovative. But again, not intentionally, but, because of his passion. He did that, and it kind of, gave him a pathway. So,
yeah, I one highlight from this conversation that I can sort of point on is you spoke about the teacher that identifies his talent. You are yourself a teacher. I feel it's so important that the teachers, without, pressurizing the kids to, follow a path, if they can identify these particular talents that a person has, or his mother spoke about, no, you need to pursue it to, kind of grow. She had an option to, tell them that, no, this is not a stable career path. You possibly go into some other field.
right.
So that support and the kind of, the push he got from all angles also is so important. What is your lens of being a teacher and facilitating that, because this museum also talks about that thought process and the way his teacher made sure that he became a man that he was afterwards. So it's so important. Like, I just wanted to
it's very
go off track and ask you this.
Absolutely, it's very important because for every child in school, teacher is your role model.
Yeah.
And if the teacher scolds you, you don't like it. But if the teacher pats on your back and gives you that comfort, and then you would want to do anything that the teacher tells you, right? And that matters a lot. And I think it's very important for teachers to recognize that talent in the child and allow the child to grow in that field.
Correct.
And it's very, very important. And I think that's what made him what he became.
Yeah.
It's the teacher, and as you say, the home environment. His mother encouraged him through and through.
That's so important.
Yeah, that's so important. Particularly his draftsmanship, because the first caricature that he did was of his father.
Wow.
And chalk piece on the floor, he sketched his father when his father was reading a newspaper. And his father was a headmaster in a municipal school. And he was a very strict person at home as well as in school. But still he had the guts to sketch his father while he was reading the newspaper. Father did not like it at all. He called his mother and said, rub it off. Mother said, nothing doing. I want my family, all my children to come home in the evening and see it. Even then I'm not going to erase it. Let it take its own course and get rubbed off.
Correct.
And so that gave him an opportunity to start scribbling on the floors, on the walls, everywhere. It gave him a full freedom to do what he wanted. And that's the only way you can explore, right?
Correct.
Whatever talent you have within. And he always believed that every child has an art within him when they grow, when they are born. And it's left to you to nurture that and allow them to, progress in whatever they want to do.
I see that that's legacy being carried forward in you, because you and Rohan ji, how you are so passionate. So like I feel so happy to just learn and encapsulate all the things that you're talking to me. Before moving forward to the Times of India and his journey into the political world or whatever, there is this fond memory. I was just going through a lot of articles yesterday, and I just found out that there was a special colleague he had at Free Press Journal. So he and Honorable Balasaheb Thackeray was together during that. Do you want to share about the memory they shared? Because they started their journeys together, and then they pivoted into two different paths.
Correct, yeah. So they started their journey together, and while they were colleagues, they became very good friends. And the Bal Thackeray was also an excellent, I don't know if you've seen his cartoons, they're amazing.
Yes, I have. Yes.
Excellent draftsmanship, and if he had continued as a cartoonist, I'm sure he would have been in the same level as Dad or even more. That's the kind of talent he also had within him, the sense of humor and the knowledge in politics, and of course we all know about it. They continued as friends, even although they parted, as a colleague in Free Press. They continued as friends till the end, right till the end. And there was a very deep emotional connect between them to an extent when Bal Thackeray was not keeping too well and realized one fine day he just called Dad and said, I want to come and visit you. So, he, Udar Thackeray, Aditya Thackeray, all three of them, the three generation, they came and visited Mom and Dad in Pune. That was a very emotional thing because Dad, when he had his multiple organ failure, he lost his voice. He couldn't speak. And then you should see the kind of conversation that was going on between them, between Bal Thackeray and him. And he was not able to express, but then he kind of did it through his, through writing and showing him. And they went on talking like that. And Mom was the one who was interpreting the whole thing. But having said that, all said and done, the emotional connect that they had was amazing. Now, cut to that, when Dad got his first stroke, he couldn't take it. It was too much for him because he was an independent person. Even when it came to driving his own car, he never kept a driver. He was that independent, that physically fit, even at the age of 80. And when he got the stroke, he couldn't digest that at all. And so Bal Thackeray visited him in the hospital in Breach Candy. And so the physiotherapist said, please tell him that, he should do physiotherapy. He will bounce back very fast. He wouldn't listen. Then finally he came home And Bal Thackeray called him and said, I'm visiting you home. I want you to come walking to the door and open the door. Believe me, he neither listened to any of us or to the physiotherapist, but he listened to Bal Thackeray and he did it. He walked all the way up and opened the door for him to come in. So that's the kind of emotional connect that they had as friends.
That's
Right to the end.
That's amazing, because I was just going through and I came upon this news about it. Going forward to the common man and the creation of it, you said he was very humble about the whole idea around it, and he never portrayed it as, like anything that was one of his finest creation, but he was very humble and realistic about it. So I would like to sort of explore what Common Man did to the generation back then and what it is doing to the generation which is going to witness it in this museum. Like, I really want to go there because you see the kind of work he's been doing. So if you could talk about that.
As I told you earlier, I think I look at Lakshman as the first social media commentator.
Yes.
And because if you see in all his cartoons, it's the common man that speaks for what he feels, right? So in that way, he's a social media commentator through the common man. And if you see each and every cartoon, it actually depicts the man, the creator himself, because that's exactly how he was. He was a very emotional person. He was a very concerned person, and he wanted the best for the people of the country. And he felt that it is your birthright to see that you get what you deserve in your country. And that's how he was very objective when it came to commenting about the political leaders, of what is expected of them to do for the country and for the people. And I think he went through an era where this was all the political leaders understood that of him, and I don't think they looked at it as his work as a cartoonist. I don't think he faced any kind of controversy because it was understood by the people of the country also. Although he was the original commentator, it was understood by the people of the country and also the political leaders. What he means is for the benefit of the country and for the society at large. And that's what this iconic character actually portrayed and brought forth. And he picked on every subject that you could think of. And he was, as you also said, he was just an artist. And how, this focus towards becoming a cartoonist is because of the knowledge that he had of each and every subject. Maybe a political, science. I mean, you look at any subject, management, banking, finance. There are cartoons and more that he has done on each and every field. That's because of the kind of reading that he used to do and gain knowledge about what's happening within our country as well as across the world. And also he used to read about 32 newspapers within the country and abroad every single day before that little cartoon that came up. So he spent about 15-20 minutes to actually sketch the cartoon and the caption, but he spent almost a couple of hours to read 32 newspapers to know what's happening in the world, across the country and across the world. And that gave him an in-depth knowledge of what's happening in each and every field that you could look at. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, because I see a lot of depth. Like the next question was that you don't usually see an artist having a depth of multiple subjects at a time and to be so confident about portraying it. May it be the emergency, may it be the rising prices, may it be what's happening in the world or across. So that was fascinating to, kind of go through it. I also see like you are trying to kind of portray through this museum that what's missing in today's media and industry. Me also coming from a media and PR background, I see that this honesty, this surety, this courage to write about the reality of the world is absolutely missing. Like, I don't see anything beyond ads or beyond a certain agenda that has been put out. What do you think is missing? Like, what is your thought process on what's happening around, and what would you like to change, or just want to know your thought of how this has all evolved.
I think in those days, there was no social media to this length of, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So I think he lived in an era where he was able to actually reach to every home across the country, right? And it's not that there are no good cartoonists these days. There are many and more who also want to do the same thing.
Correct.
But maybe something of this kind, because of the social media and because of people have a medium now just waiting to comment about it. Maybe that's the reason most of the cartoonists are also holding back, is what I feel. That's my personal opinion. So how do we change this? It's going to be very difficult because the opinions are very drastic. There are very good opinions and there are very bad opinions. If you take into any of the fields who are facing this because of the social media and the Instagram, which has given them the freedom to talk what they want. But if you look at the good side of it, it's also a platform where people who look at it in a very positive way take the message in a positive way, is the way I look at it. But the flip side to it is always there. How do we balance it? It's a very tough answer and it's very difficult to crack for any cartoonist or for any commentator to see, how you can make a difference in the country.
Correct.
I think the only difference you can make is you involve yourself in what you want to do and be part of it. That's the only way you can. Because Dad always used to say, I am not here to change the world. I am only here to bring forth what's happening in the world. And then how best you can help the people of the country and how important it is for the political leaders to see that. I'm only bringing it forward to them, making them realize, look, this is what is happening. Please see what you can do, what best you can do.
Correct.
I am not a game changer. I am not here to change the world. I'm only here to comment on it and bring forth this. So if that is an attitude that people today can develop through social media, and look at things positive without malice, then it would help.
I honestly feel that now when I look at social media, people are very instant with their comments or instant with having an opinion about anything. And the difference which I see with R.K. Lakshman sir is that he read 32 newspapers before even making a sketch or a comment about anything.
Absolutely.
I feel that depth of knowledge in today's day and age is so important, because then only you'll be able to have that bird's eye perspective of this is what is happening. And also I feel that we have more of people who are talking, giving opinions, but there are very few listeners who can listen and absorb that, okay, if a cartoonist is writing or putting up anything on social media, let's just listen and try to absorb what this means. If everyone could sort of encapsulate and capture that feeling and that kind of information, it is going to bring back the common man that it used to be and that what we can see in this museum.
Absolutely. I agree with you, because as you said, having depth of knowledge of what is happening around is lacking now, because people, younger generation don't need newspapers, their reading level is decreased. The kind of knowledge that they're gaining is all through Google and YouTube and social media and all that one, and the tolerance level has reduced. So because of which, without thinking, you make a comment. Without realizing, you're making a comment and with malice. But if you make a comment without malice, then there is some value in it. So people will start respecting you also for what you are saying. Absolutely. And will start listening to whatever you're saying. Yes, maybe I should pick it up as, yes, there is something deep into this, and then we need to understand that. Absolutely. And I think the best way to do that, which is hopefully we have started, I don't know how far we can succeed, is with the younger generation. Put that seed into them now. And we are indeed grateful that we have this museum through which we can showcase that. Correct. And help the budding young ones to maybe shape the future in a better way.
Absolutely.
Get back to the conventional way of sketching, conventional way of drawing, and conventional way of gaining knowledge, instead of using this quick way of your phone or your
Yeah.
digital medium.
Absolutely.
And which we are experiencing now with the government school students, because they have been itching to sketch and itching to know more about about artists and about what art is all about.
Yeah.
And somewhere down the line, maybe in a few percentage, we have been able to do that, take that across, and we want to continue that, of course.
Usha ji, if I could ask about what is your vision and your passion for this museum? And I know that this work goes beyond the museum, like you want to kind of do this across India. What's that vision that everyone would want to sort of relate to? Because I see a lot of passion, a lot of depth, a lot of vision that you have to transform and to, do good for the younger generation. I would love to know that about you.
So our vision, so how to take this museum forward, is now we have created this model. We want to replicate this model in, if possible, in each and every state. And in fact, as you know, this was a vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, and also inaugurated by him. So before the museum was inaugurated and when we met him, this is exactly what he also felt, that we have to take this across the country for the younger generation, to see that a man, has done something for the society at large, and it needs to be realized by the younger generation to take it forward. So that is our vision, to take this model and replicate it in each and every state possible. And we are working towards it. And if every state comes forward and helps us out, we'll be only too happy to take this and spread this work across, so that Lakshman's contemporary, tourists coming from within the country and abroad, and the younger generation, so all the age groups and all generations benefit out of that. And also students and people who have taken up a career in various fields, not only just art field or cartooning, but also management students from banking, finance, each and every one of them will help. It will help each and every one of them. Design students, will help all of them if this museum is taken across the country. So that's our ultimate vision.
And I love that whenever you walk into different rooms, you see that in one of the rooms, it's like an audio-visual story that's portraying. You sit and then you observe his life's work coming to life. Then you go downstairs and then there is this whole portrayal of, Malgudi tales and everything just coming alive and making you feel so happy about. I remember I had those books and I used to sort of like be excited about the tales and everything. So we didn't speak about Malgudi tales.
Yeah.
So any fond memory on that?
When, of course, Malgudi Days is a book written by Lakshman's brother, R.K. Narayan. And the interesting thing about R.K. Narayan is he failed in English language when he was in school, and became an orator in English eventually. So that's, again, it's the family, support. And it is, working hard towards wanting to do this. Just as Lakshman had this flair for sketching, Narayan had this flair for writing. He did not realize that he had this flair for writing in English as as a novelist in English. He had that in him, and he kind of built it up. He's written many articles, but before that, the first book when he wrote about Malgudi Station, not Malgudi as in the Malgudi Station. And then when he started writing, is when he realized, in my story, the station has to come towards the end of his story, but the actual story has to begin. And that's how he started. And he wrote about Swami and Friends.
Correct.
I don't know how much you know of the Malgudi Days that you might have watched in Doordarshan. So he wrote about Swami and Friends. And after he wrote it, he tried to take it to different publishers within the country. Nobody took it. And one of his friend who was in London and who was in Oxford said, give it to me. I'll try my best. And he also, couldn't succeed. So Narayan said, do one thing, throw my manuscript in the Thames River and just come home. That's exactly what he said. He said, no, give me one more chance. And then through some contact, he tried to meet and share this manuscript with Graham Greene, well-known writer himself. And he saw that, and he said, "My God, this has to be an internationally acclaimed, book." And that's how it all started.
Wow.
So then, of course, several books he wrote about Malgudi, and he created this Malgudi township, which is, as you know, it's an imaginative township.
Yes.
The word Malgudi
Yes.
also was the name given by R.K. Narayan.
Yeah.
There is no Malgudi village ever. And then he started writing books and created this whole village. And what a village or a township should have. It should have everything: college, school, hospital, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, and his book talks about that. So the miniature Malgudi that we have done is a brainwave of Rohan. And the orientation that is there in our gallery one is again the brainwave of Rohan.
Yes.
And I think he will talk about it more in this thing. But I can just tell you that we picked on 9 locations from his books. And we've done this miniature Malgudi, which exists only here.
Yes, and it's very beautiful. Like it takes you back in those days of, the whole beauty of all of it.
Yeah, I know. Yes. So Malgudi is like an epic, as we all know.
So as we're coming closer to the end of this podcast, I would want to ask you about the best of his work that you remember from all the cartoons he's done so far. Which is your favorite one from all of that?
Favorite one, and something very touching and very moving, and I must have seen that at least 1,000 times. But every time I see it, it gives me tears. And that's a sketch in the in the wall behind of the common man sitting on the on spikes, and there's one politician saying, "Just remove one spike and that will satisfy him." And the comment that Dad has said is, the common man is facing poverty, corruption, and so on and so forth. And the politician is saying, common man will be very happy, just remove one spike and that will satisfy him. I mean, look at the depth of that cartoon of what he is feeling about the common man and what he is going through, and and a comment by a politician saying, just remove one. I mean, you might probably look at it in a different way. I might probably look at it in a different way. But at the end of the day, it's all about the people of the country, what they are going through, and what they are yearning for, and they have the birthright to deserve that. Which is what he has very indirectly and very subtly portrayed it. And that's one of my favorite cartoons.
If he was there amongst us today, what would he say to the world?
As in what's happening in the current thing? One of his cartoons says that, he spoke about garbage being piled, and then he said that this happened a couple of years back and it is still happening. I guess he'll say the same thing.
While I was walking through the museum, I saw that his favorite bird is a crow. Your thoughts about it?
He started observing the crow right from when he was a child, and he used to ask his mom about the crow, and his mom used to say, "Yes, I'm so glad that you're so fond of crow. It's like a blessing." Because in our culture, in our South Indian culture, we feed the crows every morning, like, dal chawal.
Correct.
Even, from the pressure cooker, we take the dal chawal hot with a little ghee, and we feed the crows before we put salt in it. And it's like that you're feeding your ancestors every single day and things like that. So it's like you have your ancestors' blessings.
Yes.
That you don't like any other birds and you like the crow means you have the ancestors' blessings. And but Dad's way of looking at the crow is the crow. He loved the color black and white, and so he liked the crow because of its color black. He liked the crow because it's very intelligent. And there is a study that's done in Smithsonian University that the crow can count up to 7. And they're very, very clever. You feed a crow at 7 in the morning, the crows will come to you exactly at that same time. So that's a kind of time thing they have, knowledge they have. And he's also observed that the crow, when it caws in the morning, is very different from the way it caws in the afternoon, and very different the way it caws in the evening. And not a single crow will eat without calling its peer group. You know, they never eat alone. They always call all of them and then they eat.
Yeah.
They're always in a group. They're always united. So there's so many qualities in a crow that he loves. And that's the reason he was very fond of crows.
Yeah.
And whenever he used to sketch a crow, he had a stable in the house, with a window. The crow would actually come and watch
Yeah.
which bird will be able to, focus on something like that. He felt that the crow, even today in our house, we have crow framed all over on the walls. The crow would come through the window and actually sit on the, on the frame of the thing and look at it in an angle. So these are his observations about the crow, and he's very, very fond of it.
Oh, I had a very different interpretation, if I may talk about the crow. So when I looked at the crow and the painting and all the, I was imagining a crow is a very common bird that has its presence everywhere. But that crow is an observer of the things that happen around him. He doesn't have a very colorful personality, and yet it's very intelligent to be an observer and to understand how the whole thing works. The crow has seen everything, and I feel that depiction is so relatable to the common man, and the way he used to think that his presence is everywhere. He looks at things in a very different way, yet he's so humble and he's just there. That was my interpretation when I looked at
which is absolutely perfect, and it's a beautiful observation, and it kind of aligns very well with the thinking and thought process of Lakshman, because again, it's a very organic way. The way he had looked at crow and the way you are describing it kind of merges very well, which is so true. And even in the museum, when we were making those crows, I don't know if you saw the crow gallery.
Yes, I did.
Till that date, when they were actually making it, till that date, not a single crow came to our museum. The moment they started making it, the real crows came, and they thought, those were also crows. It is so well made. They came and actually started looking at it and observing. Till then, no crows came to this location at all. From that day onwards, lots and lots of crows had started coming.
That's amazing.
Which is, we feel like, it's there. There was one crow some time back was limping. It couldn't fly. Right from the crow gallery, it came down the steps and came and sat next to the common man statue. And then when I heard that, I was like in tears. Is it like, because crow, as you say, are ancestors, is it like Lakshman actually came and sat next to, because common man was everything to him, was his alter ego. So when a crow has come and sat next to him, means I felt Dad has come to the museum and sat next to the common man and felt, yes, here I am and this is my place.
That's such a beautiful memory to close and round off this podcast. Thank you so much for giving us the time, and it's an honor for us to be, being able to share his story through our podcast. Honestly, very grateful to you and Rohan ji. And in this podcast, we are going to be also going through the museum, taking you back into the memory lane of how it was, how this whole journey was depicted in this museum. So regardless of the podcast, I want all of you to please come here and just feel and go through each and every art form and the way he has devoted his life to the common man and to lots of things around him. It's a beautiful journey that all the next generation must visit and must, go through. So thank you so much, Usha ji. It was an honor for being.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk.
What do you think about the podcast there?
I enjoyed every moment of it. I wish it had gone on. I would have continued to talk. I really enjoyed it. And thank you so much. It's very thoughtful of you to have thought to do this podcast for us. It really means a lot.
Means a lot. Thank you so much.
You.
सो हाच तो शो, हीच ती जागा जिकडे लाईट अँड साऊंड शो जो आम्ही तयार केलाय तो होतो. इकडे तुम्ही बघितलात माझ्या बाजूला स्वतः लक्ष्मण सर बसलेत. म्हणजे तुम्ही जेव्हा आत याल तुम्हाला फील तसं येईल की ॲक्च्युली ते तसे बसलेत. सो त्यासाठी तुम्हाला इकडे येऊन सगळ्यात काहीतरी एक्सपिरियन्स करायला लागेल. सो ह्या स्पेसमध्ये आम्ही लाईट अँड साऊंड शो डिझाईन केला, कारण आम्हाला वाटलं की जेव्हा तुम्ही म्युझियम बघायला येता तेव्हा फक्त भिंतीवरती कार्टून्स थोडेफार बघितले आणि घरी गेल्यात, खूप बोरिंग एक्सपिरियन्स होतो बियॉन्ड अ पॉईंट. म्हणजे अर्धा तास पाऊण तास आपण बघू शकतो, त्याच्याहून जास्त आपण बघू नाही शकत. सो ऑडिओ व्हिज्युअल आपण काय करू शकतो, लक्ष्मण सरांच्या कार्टून्सचं तसं आम्ही विचार करत असताना ही आयडिया आली की विल क्रिएट दिस शो. आता ह्या रूममध्ये तुम्ही बघितलं तर इकडे समोर काही लाईट पॅनल्स आहेत, ज्याच्यात आपण त्यांच्या लग्नाची स्टोरी सांगितली आहे. त्याच्यानंतर 15 मिनिटांची फिल्म आपण बनवलेली, इट्स अ ॲनिमेशन फिल्म, त्यांच्याच कामावरती आपण ती फिल्म बनवलेली आहे. आणि ही जी स्पेस आहे ही त्यांच्या ऑफिसची स्पेस आपण रिक्रिएट केली आहे. तुम्ही बघाल तर इकडे टेबल आहे, तो डब्बा आहे आपण टिफिन ऑफिसला जो घेऊन जातो तो. काही तिकडे ब्रशेस आहेत, काही पेंट्स आणि ऑइल पेंट्सचे बॉटल्स आहेत आणि न्यूजपेपर्स आहेत. सो इकडे आम्ही एक नरेशन त्याचं असं केलं आहे की एक कॉमन मॅन सारखं आयुष्य जगून त्यांनी रोज 70 वर्ष सतत कसं काम केलं आणि आजूबाजूच्या गोष्टी त्या जसं बघायच्या, ते जशा त्या गोष्टी त्यांनी कार्टूनमध्ये कशा उतरवल्या आणि त्यांची क्रिएटिव्ह प्रोसेस काय होती ह्याच्याबद्दल ह्या शोमध्ये पूर्ण नरेशन आहे. त्याच्यानंतर त्यांचं फॅमिली स्ट्रक्चर, त्यानंतर इकडे एक माणूस तुम्ही बघत असाल की तो दरवाज्यातनं असा एक पीप करतोय. तो हे काय हे मी तुम्हाला आता सांगणार नाही, कारण मग त्याची तुमची बघण्याची मजा निघून जाईल. सो हा जो शो आहे तो कॉमन मॅन त्यांच्या क्रिएटरची, म्हणजे कॉमन मॅन लक्ष्मण सरांची स्टोरी सांगतोय असं त्यांच्या पॉईंट ऑफ व्ह्यूने आपण ती स्टोरी सांगितली. आणि हे दोन्ही शोज आपण 2 भाषेत केलेत, इंग्लिशमध्ये आणि मराठीत. आणि कॉमन मॅनचा जो आवाज होता त्याच्यात इंग्लिशमध्ये आपण बमन इराणींचा आवाज वापरलाय आणि मराठीमध्ये दिलीप प्रभावळकरांचा वापरलाय. खूप चांगला शो आहे, अराउंड 30 मिनिटांचा हा पूर्ण शो आहे. हा शो करताना आम्हाला मला आणि माझ्या टीमला खूप मजा आली, कारण आम्ही असं काहीतरी पहिल्यांदाच करत होतो. त्यामुळे त्यांच्या लाईफमध्ये जाऊन त्यांचं काम बघून साधारण 10,000 कार्टून्स मला लक्ष्मण सरांच्या फॅमिलीकडनं मिळाले होते. सो 10,000 कार्टून्सचं एक सिक्वेन्स करून त्याच्यावरती फिल्म बनवून आणि मग त्याचं ॲनिमेशन करून हा खूप मोठा चॅलेंज होता, पण आम्हाला करताना पण खूप मजा आली. आणि हा शो असा एक स्टँड अलोन शो नाही आहे की तुम्ही म्युझियमच्या स्टार्टिंगपासून जेव्हा एक जर्नी सुरू करता ना त्याच्यामध्ये हा शो येतो. आणि दुसरा शो जो आहे तो मालगुडी डेज, जे R.K. नारायणचं गाजलेलं नॉवेल होतं, ज्याच्यात लक्ष्मण सरांनी स्केचेस आणि इलस्ट्रेशन सगळे केले होते. सो तो मालगुडी डेजचा जो शो आहे तो दुसरा शो आहे. तो ह्या रूममधून तुम्ही बाहेर पडल्यावर अजून काही कार्टून्स बघता आणि ह्या म्युझियमच्या जर्नीचा शेवट मालगुडी डेजमध्ये होतो. तिकडे मालगुडी डेज सगळ्यांना आता माहितीच आहे, मी काही वेगळं सांगायची गरज नाही, सगळ्यांनी आपण वाचलेले बघितले. तिकडे अपार्ट फ्रॉम मालगुडी डेज आपण एक 3D होलोबॉक्स पण केलाय आणि मग त्या म्युझियमची पूर्ण जर्नी त्या मालगुडी डेजच्या सेक्शनमध्ये संपते. सो हे सगळं अनुभवायचं असेल, कारण मालगुडी एक काल्पनिक टाउन होते, काल्पनिक जागा होती. ऍक्च्युली रिअल लाईफमध्ये तशी जागा नव्हतीच, पण इकडे तुम्ही आलात ना की मिनिएचर फॉर्ममध्ये तुम्हाला ते ऍक्च्युली बघायला मिळेल. आणि त्याचा एक लाईट अँड साऊंड शो वेगळा आहे, ज्याच्यात ट्रेन आहे, ज्याच्यात काही हलत्या गोष्टी आहेत. तर तुम्ही इकडे येऊन प्लीज येऊन बघा. आणि हा जो सेक्शन आहे हा त्यांचं पूर्ण फॅमिली ट्री, त्यांचं फॅमिली स्ट्रक्चर कसं होतं त्याचा सेक्शन आहे. सो हा शो अराउंड 30 मिनिटांचा आहे, तर तुम्हाला इकडे येऊन तो एक्सपिरियन्स करायला लागेल.